Okay, what's going on, everybody? My name is Mangg. Welcome back to Hanging with Mangg. We are playing a little Void Breaker here. Which is a new roguelite.
Observation cycle has started.
Do not say roguelike, please. It's a roguelite. First-person shooter. There's roguelites of everything now, man. I mean, it's just kind of a natural evolution of gamers' kind of obsession with progression, you know? Like, there has to be progression in all things. Call of Duty, you know, just running around shooting people, that wasn't good enough. We had to add RPG mechanics to it so that you unlock new stuff the more you play. I'm not one to judge. I like all that shit too. Roguelites, though, definitely do not grab me the same way roguelikes do. Kind of regardless of the genre of roguelite. I think I just don't get that much appeal out of the randomization. I don't know what it is, but I've never really been hooked on any roguelite. I mean, this one's pretty fun. It's just really difficult. I think maybe the one that I got the most into was maybe Noita or something, possibly.
The program is your home. The program provides security and stability.
But anyways, that's what it's difficult though. I've tried to fight like the first major boss twice, I think now, and it's tough. I'm not alone in those complaints though, and it doesn't seem like there's been a patch since it came out. Yeah. So that's what's going on with that. On this channel this week, we had Dominions, which will be every week for as long as I exist, as far as I can tell. I continue to just record more Dominions. Like at least a video every day. Which, when I'm only uploading one video a day, doesn't really ever cut down on our stack. Yeah, so Dominions and RimWorld. Of course. And then, what else was there? There was another game there, of course. Dark Deity 2. That'll continue for a while, yeah. There was not a short game. But RimWorld, I'm just about done with. The last of my recorded videos. And after that, we're going to be rolling right into Silk Song. Very hype, much hype this week for the Silk Song. So timing worked out well. I have an open slot here. And it will be filled with perhaps the game of the year. Lego is very convinced that Clair Obscura will be game of the year, and I would have gone with that, but Silk Song is, you know, it's a contender. It is a contender. Yeah, I'm pretty hyped. And then it's only $20. Oh my goodness! Like, if you think about the fact that it's going to be an archipelago like as soon as possible, because you know people love that shit. How much playtime I'm going to end up getting out of Silk Song over the years. Very hype. So yeah, that'll be good. I'm sure it's not going to be a short game. Like your first playthrough, because we're gonna try to, you know, explore everything. We're definitely not gonna get 100% our first playthrough, but I don't really want to. But we're gonna try to see every area that we can, that we're aware of. From what I understand, it's quite the big game with multiple hubs and stuff. Yeah, that's this channel. Over on the Exploring series, put out part 1 of the newest Murphy Law video. And the people that did watch it were big fans. It's just not many people watched it. Not really at all. One of my worst performing SCP videos ever, I think. So, I don't know, it's just, you know, it's a combination of it being a multi-parter. People don't tend to watch those immediately, or maybe ever. Waiting for the combined parts. And that it's Murphy Law. People not everyone's a fan of noir for some reason. Hard to say, but yeah, I did it because I love Murphy Law myself, and that's what I care about. So I have to do it. And part 2 will drop tomorrow, and that's it. And then we're gonna move on. I think we got a DJ Cactus Pattern Screamer article to cover. Ho, 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 ho. It's a pause for celebration. Nothing for me to throw? Jesus. So that's that. I mean, I can afford an occasional flop as far as view counts are concerned, I guess. But yeah, we got some new DJ Cactus stuff, and then SCP-9000 contest is going to be happening. The theme of constructs and systems and constructs, I guess. Should be good. You know, it's probably more appealing one to me compared to like fantasy. So that's good. And well, actually, I'm not sure how much I'm allowed to talk about it. I don't know what's been announced or not announced.
Time within the program operates at 1000 of real-world velocity. There is no cause for concern regarding lost moments with loved ones. You will return in no time at
I don't like to get in trouble. Okay, it's been talked about. Okay. Yeah, I don't think it's that big of a deal. Okay, so you know, there was these anthologies, these yearly anthologies. You know, we did the ABCs of Death, then the Phobia one last year, and now this year there'll be another one. And Yossi reached out to me today asking if I wanted to do some voice acting for the anthology hub. Basically, like, just doing a narration of the kind of the descriptions, I guess, of each of the entries. Just sort of like a kind of ominous narrated, like almost like Twilight Zone sort of like intro kind of thing for each one. He sent me a couple of them, and it was just like, yeah, I can definitely do that, no problem. It's pretty cool. You know, it's sort of free advertising, right? For the channel in a way, but also it's just like, yeah, I mean, I do that sort of thing. If people ask, I do it. And it's something that's actually on the wiki, of course. So yeah, that should be good. I'm still not really done with the phobia articles, so, you know, it takes me a while to get through all these articles. And now there's another anthology and SCP-9000, so I'm covered on SCP articles for quite a while. That's about it, I suppose, for that. As far as RPGs are concerned, I think it was this week. I believe it was this week, because I don't think I talked about it already. And that's that I DM'd some Draw Steel for my friends. So we had 3 players, including Lego. And I ran them through the Road to Broadhurst module, which is their Draw Steel's sort of convention module for introducing the system to people at conventions. So it's not really like... It's not like the Delian Tomb, where it's designed for people that have never looked at the system to pick up and run it, and like it doesn't have a handhold stuff if you're not familiar with the system. But I am familiar with the system, so I ran it, and it was good. We surprisingly finished the whole thing. I didn't think we would, but with 3 players, you kind of can go a little faster. Oh, I think I'm supposed to... Whoop. Come back here. Three players was pretty quick, you know, compared to running it with like 5 or something. So, yeah, it was good. And we got through 2 combat encounters. We got through a montage sequence. And we got through a negotiation sequence. So we kind of touched on everything, which is the goal. Carnage. And so they picked a conduit. Yeah, they picked a conduit, which is like the cleric, a tactician, so the leader, kind of like also a healer a bit or support, and a elementalist. A decent party. The tactician pre-gen is a ranged one, so they were a little melee light, but it ended up working out. The combat wasn't too ridiculous or anything. And yeah, it was good. I mean, it's just a fun system, and it's fun for the DM even to like run combat. Usually I don't mind DMing combat in a system like the tactical system, because I kind of can just like, I don't have to think, I don't have to improvise stuff. You know, it's not really interesting. It's like playing a board game, but it's easy, you know, compared to like improvising, problem solving stuff for players and reacting to that and coming up with stuff. Like combat's kind of a turn your brain off, but Draw Steel combat, you know, there's constantly stuff going on. You have a lot of malice abilities. You're kind of looking for fun tactical opportunities for your monsters and juggling all their abilities and stuff. It's not overwhelming or anything. It's just kind of cool. Like Draw Steel is just a cool system. And so that was actually the first montage that we've done, because we haven't done one in the other game yet. And so it was a little iffy. You know, they, it's a little bit of like, okay, you know, how does this work? You know, and I'd never run one before either, so it's not ideal. but it's a very flexible thing. And it's not just like 13th Age montage where you're just like, there are no consequences, there are no roles, you're just kind of like narrating how badass you are. It's like, no, this is a problem-solving thing. There are roles, there is a chance for failure, but it's also fun. The negotiation rules I'm a little less certain on compared to the montage. Like, a montage is like, okay, it's very open-ended. There's a lot of different things that everybody can tackle, all sorts of different skill opportunities, so on and so forth. A lot of potential for every member of the group. Fuck, I just cannot beat this guy. I mean, I didn't have a very good build, I guess, but negotiations is just like, it's seemingly meant to just be similar to montages.
I have to say, it's strange.
Where it's like you're meant to have different party members be involved. Compared to just one person dominating it, whoever has the highest charisma. But it's still sort of that way. I don't know. I might need to run more negotiations, but I don't know. I feel like it's something that you could drop. I don't know. I feel like you still could just run conversations as any conversation, and you're meant to do that for most conversations in the game anyways, even if you are technically negotiating. The negotiation mechanic is for like the big plot stuff where you're really trying to, you know, things can hang in the balance. But it's like, do we really need all these mechanics for that? It just feels unnecessary. It seems like a role-playing thing, but again, that's coming from someone that does like to do conversations and does most of the talking. And in this one shot, you know, most of the talking within there was done by Ziggy, who's usually the DM and is used to doing a lot of talking. You know, it's like, so it was basically the two of us conversing and doing the negotiation. Which is how it normally is when he's DMing and I'm playing. So it's like, it didn't really change much. And I don't know as a DM if I'm meant to like interject and make sure that someone else gets to do something. But it's like, unlike the montage where you can have all sorts of skills involved, usually the skill involved here is persuade. And it's like, why would someone that has no presence, no persuade skill, why would they interject and start talking? It's meant to kind of be like, I think it's a conversation amongst the character or amongst the players about how to approach it. And then one player's like, steps up and is like, okay, we're gonna argue this and say this. But it just feels too gamey. It feels too gamey. It feels too not RPGs for the players to just break away from a conversation in the middle of and be like, okay, how should we approach this? You know, what should we try and suggest to them and as an offer of why they should do what we want them to do? And it's just like, I don't know. Usually we just do it as a conversation that's ongoing, and you're not gonna, unless you literally are pulling someone aside to talk to them and say like, hey, don't mention this thing, go, you know, offer them this. Like, okay, if you're gonna do that, then that's within the fiction. That's fine, but I don't know. I'm iffy on it. Have I played Metal Gear Delta? I have not. Yeah, you know, I'm not the biggest Metal Gear guy. I have played the original. I believe I beat it way back in the day. So I played it once. I've played Metal Gear Solid 5, and I beat that. That was reasonably fun. I don't know. I don't really care for the lore at all. And normally I don't care about any lore, but Metal Gear, it's like, I don't know, they keep kind of throwing it down your throat. I'm sure I could play it and it would probably be decently fun, but it's not something I was really hyped about or jumping on compared to, say, Silk Song.
Within subject's biological framework, this augmentation allows maximum engagement with the program, free from the interference of biological inhibition.
So yeah, but everyone really liked it, and my Ziggy, you know, he really liked it, and he wanted the PDFs right away, and he said he was gonna devour them, and this is what we're gonna be playing for his new campaign. So that was all very good to hear. I'm pretty excited. Well, I'm very excited to be playing again in a proper campaign. I mean, that's very exciting stuff in general. As far as playing Draw Steel goes, I'm pretty excited. My concern is that it's very combat focused, and I don't play RPGs with combat in mind. Usually my goal is to avoid all combat. The nicety of it is, though, the thing that keeps me confident is that we started with 4th edition D&D, which was very combat focused as well, with a tactical grid-based thing and abilities geared for combat and all that. And I certainly got up to plenty of shenanigans in that game over the years that did not involve combat. So I imagine Draw Steel will be similar. So apparently that's going to be starting in November. Quite a ways off. He doesn't want to start it until he can commit to 2 weeks a month. Ideally, it'd be every week, obviously, but that's not going to happen. So he wants to do 2 nights a month. He can't commit to that till November. So he wants me to do one last one shot in September, and then October we're just kind of skipping it because we're going on this sort of weekend gaming trip. So I'm not sure what I'm gonna do for September. I could do another Draw Steel one-shot, just to get more familiarity with the system for everybody. That's probably what we'll end up doing rather than switching to some other random system. Although I do like Call of Cthulhu, so maybe. as for our family campaign, the ongoing debacle. Right. They are in Broadhurst. They had helped to rescue this young girl from the goblins in the first level of Delian Tomb. And they had gone back to Broadhurst and were hailed as heroes, and then dumped a bunch of side quests on them. And so it was a nice little mini sandbox for them to tackle whatever side quest they want to.
Does this place feel familiar to you? Void Axis Industries. The name keeps appearing.
And so they set out to do some side quests.
Somehow.
And I'm trying to think.
Linked to all this. I know it.
Trying to think of what they did first. I think they took a respite, and while they were in the tavern about to do their respite, they met with the other adventuring party that's in town, the Gilded Hand, and they had a conversation with them and blah blah blah. They don't really trust the Gilded Hand, but they got along well enough. That would have been nice. Oh, shit. And they noticed that one of the members of the Gilded Hand, this wood elf girl, seems to be less comfortable with the group compared to the others. Can't afford any of this shit. But they took their respite, and I think they like made a healing potion during the respite, which is fine. It's all well and good. I think they went to the library at the church to do some research about the Delian Tomb, and they discovered that the ward leading to the second level of the tomb can only be bypassed using a special amulet, the bronze amulet of the Delian Order or something. And so they okay. I mean, they didn't know what to do with that information, but they got their research done. And I think the research also showed that it was connected to this group called the Coursers. Now, I initially called it the Coursers before realizing that the Coursers are essentially the Harpers in Forgotten Realms. And we're playing in the Forgotten Realms because we're doing Storm King's Thunder. We didn't switch settings. So at the end of the session, I changed it to the Harpers. And so I think they went and visited I went and visited this old charcoal burner guy. The guy who burns charcoal for the village. And he's like this weird, eccentric little friendly fellow. And he told them about a giant bug that attacked him. Out in the forest. And he described the bug to them and blah, blah, blah. and said that apparently hit some lady's farm and killed a bunch of their pigs recently.
Failure is but
And also it took his amulet.
in recalibration.
Now they're not
Failure contributes to the
they're not so dense that they didn't pick up on that quick of a thread. So they thought like, oh, that maybe this guy's a harper, you know, and maybe that's the amulet.
is not an authorized parameter.
So they go to the farm. They find the farm just like kind of decimated, bunch of pig carcasses everywhere, and a bunch of giant holes everywhere. And the lady there is like, oh, it came out of the ground, kill all my pigs, blah, 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 and then pointed to like one big tunnel where it came out of. Or where it had, you know, it came out of a tunnel, went back in the tunnel, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, oh, if you go down there and take care of it, I'll give you free bacon for life. Oh, okay, yes. And then they were like, well, it's gonna come back through this tunnel. It's gotta. This is the tunnel it uses, so it's gonna come back because there's more pigs. So we're just gonna wait, and we're gonna set a trap. And the real bummer of this is like, I encourage this sort of thought, right? And perhaps I should have been more flexible. I mean, I could have probably improvised something. But the thing is, the module wants them to go down in the tunnel because there's a montage sequence down there. You know, and all the rules for a montage sequence through the tunnels. And I wanted to run a montage sequence. So it's like, okay, and then there's a big boss fight down at in a cavern underneath. And I had that all set up. I had everything, you know, the map put in digitally, and I had the monsters scattered. I had a bunch of the traps all set up. Like, it was all set up ahead of time. I put a lot of work into it. And it's like, you know, I could, I guess, improvise, find a new map, you know, in a hurry for this farm with a bunch of holes in it, and have it burst out and do the fight there and skip the montage sequence because they decided to try to be clever. And it was a bummer because I do encourage this sort of thought, and it was all good. Like, there's nothing bad about their plan, I suppose, other than basing it on the assumption that it would come back here. But that's not bad. I mean, it's a good assumption. Why there was still food here. It's an easy source of food for it. Why wouldn't it come back here where it has its tunnel already situated? Like, there's no reason to not believe that would happen. So I really have no complaints about their thoughts there, which is rare. But unfortunately, I'm running a pre-written module, and I just had to be a bit stricter. Projectiles will fire from the sky instead of from weapon. Oh, we gotta do that. Oh my god. What the fuck is this game? Okay, yeah, that's my gun. So they spend a long time, by the way, setting up all this trap, and I just sat there because that's what a DM does. And I could have cut out a lot of their talk and just said, "Hey, like, this is a pre-written thing. You're gonna have to get in the hole. Like, that's the whole thing. I'm sorry." And they would have said, "Oh, okay." And that would have been the end of their conversation. I could have saved them like 15 minutes of planning this all out. Yeah, I probably should have. And then you grab a rock to throw, and it fills your entire fucking vision. I get hit constantly by lasers that I can't see coming off the ground. blow this thing up to get for things, and then like come on, that's so shit. I'm dead. I'll never beat this thing. Yeah, they really need to nerf this. So I've seen a lot of people complain about this boss, and I just, yeah, way overtuned. So yeah, they went through the whole thing, setting up the trap, and they're like, okay, now we wait. And I'm like, okay, 3 weeks go by. And the lady comes out and wonders if you're going to go in the hole yet. And they were, I think a couple of them, like Lego, were like, oh, shit. But they were like, no, we're waiting, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, 6 months go by. And then my mom was like, we're not waiting 6 months. And it's like, oh, okay. And they realized that, like, they have to go in the tunnel at that point. So, yeah, I probably should have just told them, but that's not I don't know. This will get to my point later. Well, I'm trying to wrap this up, not much later, but yeah. So they go in the tunnel, we do the montage sequence, which was their first montage here, and it was kind of rough, because they're just so uncreative. The problem is they're uncreative, but they're not, like, willing to just accept that and just be like, well, I'm not going to think of anything, so I just do something really basic. Like, that would be fine. You know, like, if you're a door-kicking kind of group, like, you acknowledge that you're not going to do anything creative, you're not going to problem solve or anything, you kick in doors and you get to it. The problem is they're not that. They have the brains of door kickers, but they haven't really acknowledged it. And so they keep trying and wasting a lot of time throughout sessions where they're just, like, trying to come up with something creative. And then we have to do this kind of back and forth of just like, that doesn't make any sense. That's not going to work because of this. But, you know, it's just like, that's not a good plan. But they don't just accept that and be like, okay, well, I'm just going to do this basic thing. Like, creative solution is the best, right? Then a basic solution is okay. What's not so good is continually wasting time and trying to come up with creative solutions and failing. And it's like, you would have been much better off. It's sort of like, don't let perfect be the enemy of good. It just do something simple and just go, you know? I mean, take that tunnel, for example. A door-kicking group would have just said, like, all right, we charge down the tunnel and roar for this bug that we're going to cut its head off. That would be a basic door-kicking group. I mean, in that situation, any sort of creative solution probably would have just been penalized because, or just wouldn't have done anything because of this whole pre-written thing. But in a lot of situations, a failed clever plan is worse than just kicking the door in. Like, for multiple reasons. So the montage, yeah, it consisted of, like, you know, there were pools of acid throughout the tunnel. They had to search for, like, weak spots, weak walls, weak ceilings. They had to, like, navigate through the tunnels. And there were, like, there were, like, animals, like badgers and stuff in there that could harass them, and they had to deal with, maybe. There was, like, 7 or 8 different things that they could confront, and they had to get a certain number of successes before they got a certain number of failures, you know, based on rolls. Or, you know, if they could come up with something creative, it might just be an auto solution. But they're just so... God. Like, my nephew is playing the Elementalist. He thought about trying to look for weak walls and stuff as they go through. And he's like, well, I can shoot, like, sparks out of my fingers, so I'm gonna use the sparks to light up part of the walls so I can see better. It's like, how is that different than just carrying a torch? Like, maybe like little flashes of extra bright light. I mean, maybe you can see something. I don't know. It felt flimsy to me. But maybe it could have helped. I suppose I probably should have been more generous there. Yeah, it came down to just like some basic rolls, and they did fine. Like they got a total success on it because it's like not a tricky montage. But they get to the cavern and they fight the giant bug, the Eryx or whatever it's called. And it's like a giant praying mantis thing that spits acid. And they get into a fight with it, and it doesn't go very well. My mom ends up falling into a 20-foot deep pit nearby that was hidden. So she falls into the pit, she takes a bunch of damage, and she starts climbing her way up. And it spits acid and leaves a bunch of acid on the ground and stuff. And so they're trying to maneuver out of it. Lego is up in its face, trying to tank it and judging it and all that. And then I use a malice ability that acts as like a geyser. And it shoots 3 of them up into the air. And then they fall back down. And what's really funny is I used it on my mom, who was in the pit, like trying to climb out of it. So she gets shot up out of the pit and then falls back in the pit at the bottom again. So she spent like 3/4 of the fight just climbing out of the pit. The real kicker was when my aunt, who is playing a ranged shadow with a bow, she like teleports, or she moves out of the acid and she wants to move, to a range where she can shoot it. Lego, for some reason, who's in control of like the digital thing, so he moves them around and stuff and tells them where to go. He moves her basically closer to the bug rather than further away from the bug, even though she's got like range 15 on her attack. And so I, of course, capitalize on this because the Eryx has a lot of multi-target stuff. And so I have to, he taunts the bug, so I have to include him as a target and everything, but I basically move her around a little bit because he really placed her pretty close to this thing. So I just shift a bit so I can target both of them. And then she's right up against this like spiked wall in the cavern. So I'm able to just like keep smashing her into this spiked wall. And before long, she dies. Or, she would die for a second time now in 2 sessions. So, I mean, they ended up winning the fight. She got back up because we don't want to do character deaths unless they choose it. But she lost another point to one of her attributes. So she's getting pretty fucked up because she keeps dying. And we all blamed Lego, and he blamed himself because why would he put her there? That was so dumb. He's trying to min-max everything, but it's just like basic tactics, like you play Fire Emblem or something like that. You don't put your squishy in the front line like that. So yeah, that was not good. But they won the fight in the end, and they got the amulet, and they returned to the charcoal burner, and he's like, his voice changes, and he becomes, much more normal and confident. And he's like, oh, well, thank you. And he introduces himself properly and says that he is a member of the Harpers. And he is willing to induct them into the Harpers as like junior agents if they want. And so 3 of them, everyone but my nephew, decide to join the Harpers as junior agents, which is good. I like that. I like it helps them flesh out the characters just a tiny amount and gives me a good opportunity to kind of continue plot hooks. After that, they decided to investigate this like stolen food. So they go to the granary, and they talk to the people that run the granary there about the stolen food. And they tell them that there was a hole cut in the floor of the granary. And the person went underneath and to get in and steal food. And they almost caught him, but they ran off at night. And they ran towards the woods. And she mentions specifically they ran like past near the woodcutter's house. But they, of course, latched on to the fact that they ran towards the woods. because they also heard that there's a werewolf afoot. And they talked to a guy that got attacked by the werewolf, and they quickly figured out that this guy got bitten. He's going to turn into a werewolf. But they were just like, do we have to kill him? Are we going to kill him? Should we kill him? Maybe we should kill him. And they're like, maybe we should just lock him up. And they talked a bunch about what to do with this guy who's going to turn into a werewolf. Ultimately, they did nothing. But they thought, oh, maybe it was the werewolf that stole grain. Because that's what werewolves do. So then they're like, oh, well, thanks for the information. And they're like about to leave. And I'm just like, I'm shaking my head. I'm like, God damn it, man. And so I had the woman in character be like, aren't you gonna, like, don't you want to go in the granary and look around? And they're just like, they they realized how dumb they were. And they're like, yeah, yes, we will go in and look around. And so they find a pen knife in there, like a pocket knife with the initial P on it, I think. And they ask, like, you know, do you know anyone with... they ask her, I think they go to the charcoal burner again, or so, I don't know who they talk to. But they figure out that the woodcutter's son is named, like, Patrick or something. And they actually did put together the woodcutter, because they heard repeatedly the woodcutter's not going into the forest anymore to cut wood because of the bandits. So they're like, oh, well, you know, they don't have any money. And they didn't quite put it together. I had to egg it on a little bit further, putting two and two together. I don't remember what their initial thought was, but I was like, you're getting there, you're close. Come on, a little further. Just finish the train of thought. So they got there eventually. The guy, you know, the son stole food because they don't have any money, blah, blah, blah. And that's where we ended. So they liked the session overall, except for the big fuck up with the bug fight and all that. And they understood the whole thing with the tunnel and just like it was a pre-written thing. And, you know, it is what it is. I should have mentioned it earlier, but it's against my DM code, I suppose. But also, the DM code, you shouldn't be running pre-written shit anyways. Should all be homebrew, baby. But yeah, that's where we left off. So they still have a bunch of side quests to do and plenty more combat encounters and blah, blah, blah. But I've been thinking, of course, about what to do after this. And I talked about last week about doing, like, a Pathfinder adventure path, like the 7 Dooms of Sandpoint or Abomination Vaults or something like that. And I actually started converting Abomination Vaults, which would be quite a bit of work. But I was just, after that encounter with the tunnel and everything, and their plan that I was just like, yeah, just get in the fucking tunnel. I was like, that's really bad. Like, that's not a fun RPG. That just shouldn't be how I'm doing things. I want to encourage homebrew. The system wants to encourage homebrew and improvisation and creativity. Like, this is bad. So I'm like, I should run a fucking homebrew adventure. I can do this. And so I can do it with the help of ChatGPT. So I went on ChatGPT and I just started like spitballing. Actually, I didn't start spitballing. I just told it like I'm running D&D, which I'm not, but whatever. That's all it knows. I'm running D&D, and I need an adventure from this level to this level. And the only thing is, it can't involve goblins. I don't want any goblins. Because, you know, like, we're doing a lot with goblins right now. I don't want more goblins. And this is going to be for, like, level... They really shouldn't involve goblins anyways with their level and everything. And it's like, okay, here's a fucking adventure. You know, and it gave me, like, a 5-phase multi-level adventure. That's, like, a plot. You know, there's a villain. It starts subtle, and then it grows and grows in scale. And it was, like, a whole thing. And the theme was basically like corrupted nature. Like druids have gotten corrupted and they're trying to reopen this old world corruption called the Green Wound or something like that. So it's all about corrupted nature. And I was like, that's cool. I like that theme. It's a very different theme than what we're working with here. And it's very different from the Storm Giant, Storm King Thunder thing. So this will be a good sort of mid arc of the whole campaign. And so I've just been kind of just iterating on that, and you know, I'm not, you know, it's a creativity tool, right? I'm not just saying, okay, thanks, now fill out the whole adventure for me and give me everything that I should say at the table and give me all the encounters, and just like, no, I'm working with it. I'm coming up with my own thoughts and inputting it, but it's sort of just kind of helping me do an outline and shape things and so on and so forth. So where it's at now is certainly definitely different from where it first presented it, because I put in some input. I'm like, okay, I'm trying to tie this in with Storm King's Thunder, and that I'm trying to work in the Kraken Society. So now we're working in the Kraken Society that are trying to further like instigate chaos along the Sword Coast. So they have kind of been pushing along this corruption that they've got a lot of fingers and a lot of pies, so they're trying to sow chaos everywhere. So I'm able to keep, because I don't want the players to forget that we're playing Storm King's Thunder, like we're gonna eventually get to giants. So I want to keep kind of reminding them of the background and the plot, and have characters mention the giants and now this, and stuff like that. And I also, now that they're Harpers, like they're junior agents of the Harpers, that really allows me an easy way to kind of carry them through this plot and like push them forward. It's like, okay, well, once they finish up in Broadhurst, I can then have the charcoal burner, their Harper agent here, say like, oh, you've done a great job here, but we've actually heard a lot of trouble from this other village where some shit's going down. Do you mind, taking on an assignment and going there? And then they can meet with Harper agents there, and we can keep this thread of like, okay, you're Harper, you're a part of this organization, and this is, a threat that they want to deal with. So I'd like that. I like that a lot. And I decided that their agent, their contact in this town that they're going to go to, I wanted to base it for some reason on Klee from Genshin Impact. I wanted like a halfling girl, like a really junior agent that's like an alchemist and just loves blowing stuff up. But she's really positive about everything. I just wanted a very memorable NPC like that. And I know none of them have played Genshin or anything. So she's going to be like the junior agent there that's their contact. And she's in way over her head, of course. And so they're going to go to a village that's like starting to just get overrun in small ways by this corrupted nature stuff. And I'm coming up with some like cool custom monsters like spore wolves and shit. Because I want like a recurring theme to be that there's a lot of corrupted nature things. And a lot of them are going to like basically explode when they die in fungus, like fungal clouds and shit. I think that's awesome. And I want a bunch of like vine creatures, like animals that are like animated by vines. Like I kind of want to play up the horror concept of a lot of these things. And then one of the encounters that they're going to have there is like a shrine to Shanti. And they already are familiar with Shanti because they did Golden Fields in Storm King's Thunder. So they're familiar with that deity. So there's a shrine here to Shanti. And it's been completely like corrupted and overrun with vines and just like dark fungus and just rot and stuff. And it's like clearly just fucked up. And this has the whole village in just a panic. And so there was an encounter that ChatGPT initially submitted where they had to like cleanse it very vaguely, and they had to fight like twig blights or something as part of it. And I'm like, okay, we can do a lot more with this. Because I Draw Steel specifically is really is good to have encounters where it's not just you versus them, whoever kills everybody wins. Like to have other objectives and other mechanics of the fight involved is really good. So I was like, okay, I want to do like, they have to do a ritual. And then during the ritual, the shrine sort of fights back and spawns a bunch of like vine creatures and things like that. And there's like environmental stuff. Like I want it to be more of a set piece. And then I was like, okay, well, I could have one of them do the ritual, but that's not really that fun for a player that just has to sit there during the fight and do the ritual. So it helps if there's an NPC that they have to like protect that does the ritual. And so then I thought, okay, well, how about there's a druid, like a normal druid, not a corrupted one that lives in the village. And he's been like fighting off the corruption. internally. Like something is like tugging at his soul, basically. And he's been really, really fucking ill this whole time. And the village is basically like blaming him partly. Or they're blaming him either for not fixing this, or they're blaming him for maybe being like responsible for this, you know? So he's about to get like murdered or run out of town or something. He's on death's door himself, but he's still like trying to fight off this corruption. And that's when the players arrive. And so they'll have to like try to encourage him and convince him to like, hey, we can do this. We can beat this, but we need your help, you know? And so he can maybe do the ritual, but they'll have to defend him during the fight so that he can actually cleanse the shrine. And if they're successful, and he does, I mean, that's like a big bolster to him as they're like fighting back this corruption. And that will actually like save his life, essentially, one way or the other. So I thought that was pretty cool. But then the final encounter of that mini arc is that they actually go out to like a shrine, or some, I'm not quite sure. I haven't figured that out yet, but something, a ruin or something out in the woods where there's corrupted druids doing some sort of ritual, and they'll have to defeat that. And after they do that, Klee, or whatever her name's going to be, she is going to inform them that there were a couple senior Harper agents here, but they actually went further east along the trade route because some caravans have been getting attacked by like vines or something like that, just pulled off the road and stuff. So they went further east to kind of investigate, and they haven't heard back from them. So she wants, they want the players to go investigate that. And that's going to lead them in the end into a giant sort of like castle out in the forest. And so we have a whole dungeon set up, because I wanted a dungeon for the second phase of this. And it's sort of just like a castle that's just been like overtaken by nature completely, but also like corrupted nature, obviously. So there's a lot of more spore creatures and vine monsters. And they can tell like pretty quickly that there's something very sinister happening on like the second level of the castle, but they can't get up there because it's completely barred by like the impenetrable vines. I'm picturing like the Erd tree or whatever in Elden Ring. They cannot pass it, and so they have to go through the whole dungeon, the whole castle, the first level, to find different things and solve basically a little puzzle in order to part the vines and go up to the second level for the big boss fight. And that's going to kind of enlighten, after they do that, that'll enlighten them a lot about the ongoing plot about this sort of corrupted archdruid that's trying to reopen the Green Wound, and have corrupted nature overtake all of the Sword Coast. Yeah, so it's been good. And ChatGPT, like, yeah, it's got a lot of faults, especially for like factual stuff, but just as like a creativity tool to like bounce off of, it's kind of invaluable for someone like me that's like partly creative, but I'm not really like a writer or anything. And I would struggle to just like sit down from scratch with my own mind and just make a whole adventure like this. But just having something there to bounce off of and just kind of come up with like just a start, like a framework. Because I can come up with occasional ideas and be like, oh, you know what? This would be cool right here. But just like the big picture stuff, the whole plot, the villain, all that is like, it's nice to have some help. And it's also good for like maps and shit, surprisingly. Like, there have been a few times now where it comes up with an encounter and I'm like, can you go online and find a map for this that would like be suitable for this? And it does. And it's like a good map. And it's like, yeah, I probably could do that myself, but it's really just crazy to think that it can do that and it recognizes it. Because there was another time it couldn't really find a good one that I liked. It found a bunch for a castle in the forest, but I didn't really love any of them, so I found one myself. And then I labeled like 10 different rooms within the castle myself. And then I submitted that to ChatGPT, and I'm like, can you come up with rooms and descriptions for all these labels? And it did. And it like made sense. Like it didn't put like a bridge or something in the middle of the throne room and describe it. Like it recognized the map and could figure out. I'm ascribing it too much intelligence, obviously, but you know, the system wasn't entirely confused, is what I'm saying. So yeah, it's pretty cool. So that's what I'm planning. After we do Delian Tomb, I'm gonna do some homebrew shit here, and I think they'll like it. The biggest thing, of course, is like planning out maps and encounters, so I don't have to do that on the fly, and then just like big picture, like just the overall plot line of this whole thing. If I can just have that all in my head, and it's like, okay, I understand how this part leads to this part leads to this part, and it makes sense because this is the overall plot. Like the moment to moment stuff, the improvisational stuff, like I can handle that at the table. But just, yeah, the big picture and then encounters is mostly what I need. They don't mind being railroaded, but I just don't want another situation like that tunnel. I want the ability to just free form and just like, okay, you know. And I think montages, yeah, it's tricky because like montage probably is better if you plan it out ahead of time rather than coming up with it on the fly. But if you plan montages, it's like you're taking away a lot of agency from your players. It's tricky. Because there are going to be times where a montage would make sense from something that they suddenly spontaneously do that you didn't plan for. So I think learning how to come up with an okay montage on the fly is probably a pretty good skill. And I think the book actually does have a lot of example montages that you can just pull from if you want. And worst comes to worst, I think ChatGPT probably could come up with just the outline of a montage and like the challenges within a montage. It probably could do that within like 10 seconds pretty easily. Just as something to bounce off of. And again, I think that's the best use case for it as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. So it's all good. It's all good. Okay. I talked long enough. We've been sitting on the screen for long enough. But yeah, that's it. So more Dominions this week. More Dark Deity 2, the last bit of RimWorld that I have, and then Silk Song, baby. Over on the Exploring series, Murphy Lost, Sunset on Horizon Boulevard, Part 2, the finale. Good stuff. My name is Mangg. This has been Hanging with Mangg. I'll see you fine folks next week.